USA suffers big enough losses from the backlash of Battlefront 2. And it all started because some guy couldn't unlock Vader. This will be the second time Anakin brought balance to something. Anxiety is like when video game combat music is playing but you can't find any enemies. Being able to do well in high school without having to put in much effort is actually a big disadvantage later in life. Somebody at Google was just like, "Yay, just have someone drive down every road on Earth." College students don't want to go to graduation ceremonies, but they go to please their relatives, while relatives don't want to go but go to support the students. We should all just be honest and skip that ceremony and go out for pizza. Again, apparently, a lemon is not naturally occurring and is a hybrid developed by crossbreeding a bitter orange and a citron. Life never gave us lemons. We invented them all by ourselves. The sentence, "Don't objectify women," has women as the object of the sentence. It kinda makes sense that the target audience for fidget spinners lost interest in them so quickly. The Olympics is the only time when you hear, "Great execution by North Korea," and it seems okay. Since there are 3,600 seconds in an hour, and most people make less than $36 per hour, their time is worth less than a penny per second. It's literally worth your time to pick up a penny from the ground. Security at every level of an airport is absolutely ridiculous. Until you get to the baggage claim. Then it's just like take whatever bag you want. This spring forward thing would be a lot more popular if we moved the clocks ahead at 2 p.m. on Monday. Stan Lee's funeral is going to be a reverse cameo where all the superheroes appear in the background of his story. The spiders that live in Buckingham Palace now are probably the descendants of the spiders that lived there during Victorian times. It's a whole parallel royal family but with spiders. One of the most frustrating feelings in the world is being smart enough to know there's a better way to do something but not smart enough to invent a way to do it. Watching a graduation ceremony is like sitting through a movie that's entirely end credits. It must suck to be an air conditioner repairman. You spend your day working in buildings that have no air conditioning. When it's fixed and finally cool, you leave. The fact that the death of a scientist is headline news worldwide is in some ways the most fitting tribute Stephen Hawking could possibly have. There is no physical evidence to say that today is Wednesday. We all just have to trust that someone has kept count since the first one ever. At the age of 60, Snoop Dogg will be 420 in dog years. The first person who inhaled helium must have been so relieved when the effects wore off. When people brokenly speak a second language, they sound less intelligent but are actually more knowledgeable than most for being able to speak a second language at all. When medication says do not operate heavy machinery, they're probably mainly referring to cars. But my mind always goes to forklift. Telling a dangerously overweight person not to lose weight because they're beautiful is like telling an alcoholic not to stop drinking because they're fun. Not only that, but you're basically saying they aren't fun unless they drink and they aren't beautiful unless they're overweight. You're completely disregarding their health and quality of life. Body positivity should mean you're beautiful no matter what size, and we shouldn't equate any weight with beauty. Weight should be about health only. You also shouldn't be a jerk to someone because of their weight. Being an adult is eating the crust not because you like it, but because you paid for it. Replying K in Morse has the same passive-aggressive tone. Anybody that questions why you are shoveling 6 inches of snow in the middle of a snowstorm hasn't shoveled 12 inches of snow at the end of a snowstorm. The average car in space is nicer than the average car on Earth. USPS could make more money if they put post offices in airports, so instead of throwing something out that you forgot was in your bag, you could mail it home. Maybe little kids have it right when they worship the garbage man, the postman, the guy who drives the semi and cranes, instead of admiring the cesspool of Hollywood that we adults seem to. We're lucky that our bodies require sleep. Otherwise our cultures would have us working 16 to 20-hour days. If Wookiees have a 400-year lifespan, then Han Solo is basically like Chewbacca's third dog. Single-player games that don't require internet are going to be extremely valuable during the apocalypse. Social anxiety is basically conspiracy theories about yourself. If you won the award of the first man to break 2 world records, that would make it 3 awards. And you win the award of first man to break 3 records. Now you have infinite awards. Bob's Burgers would also be an appropriate title for SpongeBob SquarePants. Google Earth, in all its detail, is an unprecedented accomplishment for mankind. No one even 100 years ago, or less, would believe it could exist. But the fact that it is free is a world wonder. The movie industry considers you to be an adult when you're 17 to see a rated R movie. But they conveniently lower that age to 13 when they are deciding who pays adult ticket prices. There is nothing better than realizing, right after you wake up, that you won't have to face repercussions for the terrible choices you made in your dream. The other day, someone said, Newton's rolling over in his grave in response to a basic physics mistake. But if Newton heard someone suggest his corpse could move without an external force acting upon it, he would roll over in his grave. In one generation we went from, "Watch your mouth around grandma, she's from a different time," to, "Don't mind all the stuff grandma says, she's from a different time." Quote, "It's entirely possible that 2 random people on the internet have had a friendly conversation on one forum and later an aggressive, hateful conversation on another forum, without ever knowing of their previous wholesome interaction. College students are simultaneously stereotyped for not getting enough sleep and for sleeping all the time. Pinterest is like a virus that infected the Google image search. Quitting cable news is like quitting smoking. After a year without you see how disgusting it really is. One of the worst feelings is the feeling of your sleeves sliding down your wrists as you wash your hands. The first time someone steals a spaceship and flies away is going to be epic. Being lonely is believing you've received a message when it's just your battery at 15%. If you're no longer covered by your parents' health insurance, your manufacturer's warranty is over. We all joked that Hollywood wasn't giving Leonardo DiCaprio an Oscar so he would keep making great movies. And he hasn't been in one since he won his Oscar, due to it almost only being populated by researchers. Antarctica is technically the continent with the highest average IQ in education. Comic-Con is the best way to see what your favorite characters would look like if they let themselves get out of shape. Tom and Jerry is one of the most distinct case of child vs. adult perspective, in which as a child you think Jerry is witty and correct, but as an adult you see that Tom is being bullied by Jerry whilst attempting to live his life as a normal house cat. Our parents warned us for years about the dangers of the internet while knowing nothing about it. Then finally dove in and fell for every single one. Peer pressure as an adult is seeing your neighbor mow their lawn. At a certain point in your life, sitting at home alone, watching TV on a Friday night goes from being super depressing to the most enjoyable part of your week. Imagine how rich you would have had to be 200 years ago to have music playing in the background while you cook dinner. When we're young, we sneak out our house to go to parties. When we're old, we sneak out of parties to go home. If you think you've ever messed up badly, just remember somewhere an ant brought borax-laced food to the colony, killing the queen and the colony. Pirates have always seemed good about employing people with physical disabilities instead of a mummy's curse. In a couple hundred years, when archaeologists are sitting through data on old computers, someone's accidentally going to unleash an ancient computer virus into their network. In 10 to 15 years, gamer dads will join the sports dads who could have gone pro if it weren't for. There must be millions of people who still spell out beautiful in their head the same way Jim Carrey did in Bruce Almighty. that. No alcohol beyond this point. Might as well say, bet you can't chug that whole beer. One day Rick Astley will die and no one will click on the headline.